By 1739, the enslaved Africans of the Carolinas had endured decades of brutality, toil, and suffering. But beneath the surface of submission, a spark was growing. A spark that would ignite the largest slave revolt in colonial America. This was the Stono Rebellion, a defiant act of resistance that would send shockwaves through the region and leave a mark on the history of enslaved people forever. Among the enslaved Africans were people from diverse backgrounds, but they shared one thing in common: the desire for freedom. Jemmy, a man from the Kingdom of Congo in West Central Africa, now called Angola, emerged as one of the leaders of the rebellion. He, along with a group of fellow slaves, decided that their only chance for freedom was to rise against their captors. They knew the risks. If the plan was not successful, it would certainly mean death. But for Jemmy and his followers, the call for liberation was worth any sacrifice. On the morning of September 9th, 1739, Jemmy and about 20 followers broke into the Stono River warehouse, seizing weapons and ammunition. Armed and determined, they began their march southward, intending to reach Spanish Florida, where they had heard promises of freedom for escaped slaves at St. Augustine. Along the way, they set fire to plantations and killed several colonists, sending a clear message that they would no longer live in chains. The sound of their drums echoed across the land, a call to arms that signified more than a mere rebellion. It was a declaration of the power that the enslaved people held within themselves. In response, the authorities quickly mobilized a militia to suppress the uprising. A bloody chase ensued, and within a day, the rebellion was crushed. Many of the rebels were killed in bar battle, while others were captured and executed. Jemmy, however, was never found. His name, like many others involved, faded from the history books, but the reverberations of the Stono Rebellion would last long after the smoke cleared. By the end of the rebellion, 30 white colonists and 44 enslaved Africans had been killed. In the wake of the rebellion, colonial authorities enacted even harsher laws to prevent further uprisings. The South Carolina Negro Act of 1740 brought strict controls over enslaved people, barring them from gathering, restricting their movement, and outlawing the use of drums to curb communication and prevent rebellion. Fear of uprisings spread, prompting other states to adopt similar laws. These legal frameworks solidified white supremacy and evolved into Jim Crow laws and other racially discriminative legislation. But despite the crushing defeat, the legacy of the Stono Rebellion lived on in the hearts of the enslaved. It was a reminder that their thirst for freedom could never be completely extinguished. The Stono Rebellion was one of the first and most significant slave uprisings in the history of colonial America. It was not an isolated event, but part of a broader, unbroken history of resistance by enslaved Africans. Their courage and determination to fight for freedom were passed down through generations. In the next episode, we'll look at the revolts that followed and how the struggle for freedom continued to evolve.